pledge as soon as that light comes on. I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with the pledge of allegiance to the flag. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we do the roll call, I'm going to make a motion to amend the agenda to add a resolution supporting a public hearing. And it's a public hearing about proposed housing. I need a second. Second by Councilor Peeler. And I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll on amending the agenda to add a resolution.
Councilor Whitfield.
Aye.
Councilor Morocco. Councilor Petropoulos.
Aye.
Councilor Gilat.
Aye.
Councilor Grimaldi.
Aye.
Councilor Peeler.
Aye.
Councilor Lavin.
Aye.
Councilor Brennan.
Aye.
Mayor Valentino.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And now I'll ask you to do a roll call, which was almost obvious.
Alrighty. Councilor Whitfield.
Here.
Councilor Morocco. Councilor Petropoulos.
Here.
Councilor Gilat.
Here.
Councilor Grimaldi.
Aye. I'm here.
Councilor Peeler.
Yes, present.
Councilor Lavin.
Key.
Councilor Brennan.
Here.
And Mayor Valentino.
Here. Next, we have two public hearings. The first one is a CDBG grant application supporting Liquid Orchard, and I believe our Director of Economic Development would like to speak first. David?
Thank you, folks. We did mention this, I think, last month. The city staff have been supporting the Liquid Orchard company that's planning to locate on the Agritech campus to pursue a CDBG economic development grant. These grants can be used for buying equipment, helping a business start up. In this case, the business is working with the consultant to draft the application, but the city would need to be the applicant. The city would get funds from the state and provide them to this business to encourage growth of that kind of business. Out of this, they would create 10 to 15 new jobs in the city and be a tenant of the new building that's currently under construction, which we want to see filled as quickly as possible. I don't see a lot of downsides for us supporting this. I, as Economic Development Director, want us to help every business that would like to get this grant move forward on it. And getting one doesn't hurt our chances of getting another one. So the more we can do, the better. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the process. And we can hear from the public if anyone has comments about the concept of us helping a business with this grant.
Thank you, Mr. West. So does anybody from the public like to speak on a grant application supporting Liquid Orchard? Okay, and I imagine we'll have an opportunity for discussion once we actually bring the CDGB grant forward, correct?
We would have an opportunity for more discussion if we were awarded the grant. We would have to pass a resolution to accept it.
Okay.
We can ask questions right now, too?
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about this company, where they're located, are they brand new? Is this kind of animating? Is this grant animating this company?
Yes.
What
So,
is it,
so the company is taking advantage of one of our biggest assets, which is Cornell, their center of excellence that helps people start new food-based businesses. So they are New York statewide, the one place to get help with starting new food product businesses. And that's what they're always doing, is bringing people in. That's the point of the Tech Farm campus, is to take these companies that go through the training programs with Cornell and have a place for them, because so many times groups go through the training, they refine their product, they get great marketing for it, great packaging, They figure out the technicalities of how to make it, and then they leave. We want them to stay here. I can't guarantee that they're going to stay here forever, but I can guarantee that they get in this space, they're going to need to hire 10 people, they're going to grow their business here while it happens.
Great. What is their product?
It's a juice product.
New and improved orange juice.
Orange juice. Is that for
I
real?
don't know.
I don't know.
New and
Bought their
improved is the
equipment
key
from
word.
China.
Council Petropoulos.
Okay, so they're going to work with Cornell. Are they going to do any infrastructure building or anything like that, or are they just using already existing lab space? And
It's in the
there's-
new building in the tech farm.
Okay.
So the big blue building that they just put up.
All right. I mean, my concern, of course, I'll address later in my ward report, but I just want to make sure they're not going to alter anything and cause the possibility of more rainwater washing down the hill, shall we say?
No, they're going in existing buildings.
Okay.
Council Morocco.
You stated that you don't see too many downsides to this. What downside do you see?
Oh, I don't see any.
Well, you said you don't see too many. Okay, so I just
Yeah.
wanted to clarify. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you looked at, like Real Eats, came in, got a fair amount of public money, redid a building, and then went out. The other people, Jerabundy, who moved to Michigan, those are always possibilities, but Cornell is an attraction to this kind of startup business, and that's the business we're in. So I think that's a potential downside, but yeah.
It's certainly possible a company like this could leave.
Yeah.
With every company, it's possible they leave. I would emphasize that we're not giving them Geneva city tax dollars.
Yeah.
We're taking money that would either way be going to other places and keeping it here for a while, if nothing else.
I have a question.
Sure.
If they're not Geneva's tax dollars, dollars don't come from nowhere. Where do the dollars come from?
Yeah, it's federal dollars.
You say Russia?
It's federal, I mean.
So it's federal money being passed directly from the Fed to us, or does it go to New York State?
Goes
and then
to New York State.
So it's like a ping pong ball of money. Does it go bounce, bounce, bounce?
There are layers.
Right.
No further discussion. We'll call the public hearing closed. Go on to the next public hearing, which is a CDBG grant application for the BEST program in disguise.
Yes. I'll give you a quick introduction first. The BEST program is the new name for the MAP, or Micro Enterprise Assistance. This is a program that, again, we will apply for funding through New York State for. Micro enterprise is defined as a business with 5 or fewer employees. So 50% of this funding would have to go to brand new businesses. 50% could, 49% could go to existing businesses that are less than 5 employees. It's a CDBG program, which means the money originates with HUD. It comes with a lot of requirements from the federal government because of that. We have a history of running a bunch of programs. I brought with me today the list of every business that's received it since 2010. It's a long list. I could read through it. It's very small font. I'm sorry if you have glasses. That is it.
It's mini print.
Very small font.
It is very
a
small
gracious
font.
description of what this is.
If you want me to read through all of them, I'd be happy to read through all of them. I will say, in understanding the history of this program, in the past, the city gave a lot more small grants. So they were giving grants of $5,000, $6,000, which allowed them to give money to more businesses in a round, but the money made less of an impact, I would say. Giving money to a business also comes with the requirement of creating a job. And we have to track the jobs that are created. And whether you get 5,000 or 29,000, you have to create one job. If it's more than 30,000, you have to create 2 jobs. But any amount requires the creation of 1 job. In our most recent round, we tried to give mostly larger awards. We gave $30,000 awards, and we gave $11,000 awards to kind of a second tier. When I say we, I want it to be clear that I mean not me. The previous application was submitted by the LDC and the IDA that worked together to hire MRB to draft that application, and then those 2 boards split, being a committee to review applications. There's a set of criteria that applications were reviewed by, and they scored the applications, and that's how we decided which businesses got funding. The businesses that scored highest got full funding. There was a few more that they wanted to split. Instead of doing one more business, they decided to do 3 when they got to their kind of lower tier favorites. And like any competitive grant, there were some businesses that did not get funding. This would be a process that we would run very similar in a new application. It's because we now have a grant coordinator that we were able to run through the end of this grant, work with all the businesses, and now work on submitting the next application. I do see a question.
Councilor Petropoulos.
Well, I'm liaison for the LDC, and there hasn't been any talk of this sort of thing. So my question is, what would it take? Because, you know, council should be in on more of this. What would it take to get council more oversight? And also to make sure the conduct of said committees is on the up and up? That's my question.
I'm not sure what you mean by the conduct of the committees.
Just to make sure everything's done without favoritism, for example, conflict of interest. I mean, you know, I think council should have some oversight.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at this list, and it seems like fully half the businesses, you know, just went poof. Why? I mean, I know the pandemic accounted for, but again, who picks them? You know, council should have some oversight.
So council could choose businesses. I would recommend that it's not actually a good idea to make that decision an elected decision. We want people who are experts and who are non-biased making those choices, but I don't really care. It doesn't really make a big difference to me. Like I said, I didn't make any of the decisions.
It's as if to say we're not experts it totally misses the point. I think we should just know what's coming. For example, I've said it before, we have way too many dispensaries in town, way too many vape shops, way too many this, that, and the other. You know, we need a better mix, and just to make sure, let's pick these guys for whatever reason. We don't know who's getting picked. I'm not saying that we're going to pick any businesses. I wouldn't know necessarily who to pick, but I would certainly, if we had some involvement and some oversight, we could perhaps prevent too much of one thing and turning into this, you know, making downtown into whatever. I'm just saying we should be in on the process.
So if I may, a piece of this is there is a standard scoring rubric that takes that bias factor out, or should take that bias factor out. When this was run this last time, LDC and IDA really brought this together because they were working outside and they had contracted with that partner. As far as what that review committee looks like, I think that's a piece of deciding on who that is. And, you know, you do have that final appointment power to the LDC and the IDA. You confirm the appointments afterwards. So I think you need to have those discussions. And as we go through this, the other piece to this is it's the businesses that apply for this funding that receive the funding and apply appropriately. David was very kind to say sometimes the businesses don't follow the application or they choose not to follow the application. And so that's a challenge. What this program does is take additional funding from New York State and the federal government to then distribute locally. I think however you guys want to help map that criteria, we have to follow all the federal criteria first and the state criteria. And then if there are different things that you want to add into that, you can add that to the rubric. You could also have, there's liaisons on all of these committees, and if you wanted to select that council where the liaisons were on it, I think having a good mix of all of those pieces are helpful. I think what we're hearing, though, is there's no pushback on it. One of the preferred recommendations, though, from our outside funders is to have a mixed group of kind of economic development and community experts, business experts. The other piece is this is not just businesses in downtown. I want to be clear about that. This is Geneva-wide. And so you'll see some of these businesses are not downtown. Some, as David and I, because we weren't here for any of the prior rounds, when we're looking at them and have reviewed some of them, we found some may be in houses or a home business that they've added to. Some of them have changed names, things like that. So this is a long history of it. It's just another tool that we don't have without this grant because we can't provide these kinds of funds with our city dollars at this point.
Councilor Gilat.
I'm just curious. I probably know the answer. Maybe I don't. As far as the grants go, once again, operation, is there stipulations as far as they have to be in business so many years? Any oversight as far as how the operation is going?
No, it doesn't require oversight over operations. So the thing about small businesses is most fail. The majority of small businesses fail within the first 5 years. And that's going to be true whether we give funding or whether we don't. I will say that this program in its history has had a significantly better than average track record of businesses succeeding. So more businesses in this program succeed than the average. Most small businesses fail. That's kind of a reality of modern day capitalism. It's difficult. They can't compete with the big businesses. It needs to be something really special. What we're doing here is taking the long view. Every year, if we can kind of seed the field with some new businesses, knowing that some of them aren't going to make it. It's okay. It's part of the churn. And we can do our best to pick the ones we think will be most successful. But we also have to pick from the applications that we get. And it doesn't do us any good to not fund a business. The way that we build credibility with the funder is to spend our money as quickly as possible. So if we can get through the businesses we have and get on to the next round, that makes them happy.
Yeah, I'm just didn't insinuate that. Just so there's no, just worried about take the money and run kind of thing. I mean, that's the worst scenario possible.
Sure.
But
Right.
that was where I was going with that question. So
Yeah.
And just to
never
be
happened.
clear,
Yeah.
the business has to, this is all reimbursement. That also limits the businesses. So when we start talking about 5,000 to 30,000, if you're a brand new business, finding $30,000 on reimbursement, and I've seen some of the business owners come in with their pockets of receipts, and then we have to go through each receipt, and some of the stuff that they think that they're going to get reimbursed is non-reimbursable. Now, they still need it for the business, and so through the grants coordinator in David's office, they have to kind of pick through all of those pieces to get that reimbursement. And they only are allowed to use the allowable expenses through the federal and state program.
Right. So when people get money, they've already spent it.
Counselor Peeler.
I think Ahmad had his hand up before me.
David, thank you for your work. I have a question, or a few questions. Do you think the best program is a better program this year? Will be a better program this year than last year, considering the issues that we had?
I think it will be much smoother and faster because we are appropriately staffed now. So we have Jennifer Sutton. She's been fantastic. She's fully trained on this. I came on after this program started and figured out where it was and mistakes that had been made and tried to fix things. And then she came on after that and has been trained up and has taken it on. She's got a great relationship with our state rep. They're working together really well. So I think that she's got this running smoothly, and the next round, I hope that we can spend the money within the first year and keep it rolling faster.
Also, looking at your list from 2010 to 2024, 14 years, I see a huge gap of 6 years from 2018. Why is that?
Staffing.
I was going to say, I can explain that one. That is the time between pandemic and then the switch in staffing. We just didn't have the program. So the 2024 program you see, we actually applied for in 2022.
Yes.
Yes, when I came on board. But it takes multiple years, and to not have staff to lead it, it took that transition time.
And last but not least, I see that there were only 6 companies, small businesses that seem as though went through with the program. As I spoke with you before, I know there were more small businesses. Why is it that only these 6 are on here and the others?
So I'm trying to remember, I think we reviewed 12 applications. The committee decided to fund 7 of them, and 1 of them during the process stopped responding.
So out of the 12, they only wanted to support 7
Yes.
of the businesses.
Yep.
And some
So-
of those businesses didn't meet the qualifications.
Yeah, so there were applications that were incomplete. There were applications that just scored really low because, you know, with the application was the scoring rubric, so you could see as an applicant where you were. But some of them, you know, just have the minimum match and didn't do the things that they would need to get a higher score. So the goal isn't to fund every business that applies. It's a competitive process, so there's going to be some people who apply and don't get it.
Now I have more questions. In seeing that, what can we do to better broadcast this so that more people are applying, more businesses are applying, so that it isn't a low rate of small businesses in the city that are applying?
I think some of the things that we can do is being consistent. You know, I all year got calls from people who said, "Oh, I saw on your website you have this micro enterprise program. Can I get a grant?" And I'd say, "No, the application for that was 9 months ago. We won't have another one until this time." If we can be more consistent, then it won't be leaving as many people with a business idea in this limbo of, I don't know when I can apply for this. One thing that I thought was done well is partnerships at the beginning of this. The city worked with Ibero, who helps people in the community, specifically geared towards the Hispanic community, but they help everyone, and they gave great classes helping people devise a business plan. I did get some feedback that some people that went through that class thought anyone who goes through it gets money, which is not the case. It's preparing you for a competitive application. But I think that they were a good partner, and I hope that we can grow that.
And I think another piece is the businesses that didn't get funded, we then reached out to and said, this is why you didn't get funded, so you can continue to work with them throughout. Smoothing this out quite a bit through all of the transitions will be a big impact on that, because we can help you, but we're not going to have funding for 2 years is not very helpful. Whereas if we can help you and we'll have funding again because we'll have a new cycle in 12 months to a year, we'll really, 12 months is a year, but it'll help you get there.
It is sad to see that some of the businesses did not, receive the help that they needed, because a lot of them waited all the way until the end of the year to be notified. Is correct that they would not be receiving it?
No, the businesses that were notified they wouldn't receive it was fairly quick after the application.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was a process from there, because after you announce the awards, then they have to go through environmental review. A lot of them didn't have a location yet, and you can't do environmental review until you have a location. It's a complicated program, and unfortunately, that's one of the trade-offs that comes with having public money. It comes with a lot of complication. I always tell people, if there's any way you can do a project without public money, you should do it that way, because it'll be better. But if there's no way to do it without public money, then that's what these programs are for.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Peeler.
I've been here for 6 years, and this is the most lively discussion we've ever had about MAP or BEST grants, and I welcome it. And I think the city manager made a brilliant observation that maybe an opportunity for a council liaison on the panel is a brilliant idea. It would be included in our council reports. As far as, and questions like these won't be kind of left dangling in the wind. We would be armed, because my personal constitution is that we should be armed with information. Counselors should never should very frequently have a conversation with a person and they don't know how to answer a remedial question like this, or some of these are remedial things. So is there any type of prevention within the state or within the system to install a council liaison in the process? Because counselors we don't affect the planning board, but we're a liaison, right? So we wouldn't influence the panel, but we would there as to be a passive observer and a person to report findings to the council.
Yeah, no, there's nothing that would stop that, and we can certainly have a council liaison in that process. I think what would be fair too for the applicants, and we did this last time, is we said a panel consisting of LDC and IDA members will be reviewing your application. Similarly, we would say a panel of LDC, IDA, if we went that direction again, along with a member of the city council will be on we'll review this application, and these are the criteria that you need to meet.
Yeah, we just add to the liaison appointments of the mayor at any given time. So my question also, I had a question that came about because of the conversation that Councilor Whitfield inspired. What was the cap in the last process of the amount of awards we could give out? I understand there's a competition, but usually there's a competition for place, right? There's a competition for gold, silver, bronze. So there's 3 medals. How many medals did we have on option to deliver here?
So we had, the grants can go up to 30,000.
Yep.
And the committee could have distributed that any way they wanted for the, I think, $153,000 that they had.
Okay.
So that could have been,
$10,000-$15,000 grants.
Yeah.
So, as a rough number,
Yep.
or
Yeah.
any calculus in that.
yes.
And
So-
did we spend the entire 150?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, because I'm with the vibe of Ahmad, is that we need to make sure that we don't leave anything unavailable.
We didn't leave a dollar on the table.
Okay. And that kind of council oversight is what would ensure that, right? Because we don't know that is, or at least I don't think we've been properly informed or vigorously informed of that, so that we can remind our residents that this is out there. So maybe we have, and I'm just not, I'm not too tuned into it, but I don't know about what you, Ahmad, think, but I feel like that wasn't properly, we weren't informed.
It was just learned last year by me, of course, but a lot of people don't know about the grant, so hopefully this year a lot more businesses will know about this.
I will say we can't ask for a lot more in terms of dollars. So it's likely that we'll fund a similar amount of businesses. So we could get more applications. That would mean saying no to more people, which is great because it gives us, more likelihood of having the best applications.
And we did hone this process slightly. So when we applied, and it was really early on in my tenure, we looked at what businesses could do with 5,000, 10,000, 30,000, and who could actually do that. And that's a piece of the application process is, if someone says, 5,000 is not going to cut it, I'm not going to be able to do anything with it, then we have to have that. And prior to the application going out, some of the businesses that received it in the past provided the feedback to say it would be more helpful to do. We haven't found the sweet spot yet, but we've been looking for that sweet spot of not too much money so they can't actually have it, but not too little money so it doesn't actually do anything for the business.
Right.
The other thing is the faster we spend the money, the faster we can get more. So if we spend all the money in 6 months, we don't have to wait till the next year. The faster we can get it out, the sooner we can apply again. It's a rolling application. We can keep applying for more. As soon as we've spent, it's actually 76, I think, % of it, we can start the process of the next round.
But 150 is the cap every time, roughly?
What
For
determines
now.
the figure?
When we,
Okay, I
yeah,
get it. I just thought
yeah.
maybe is an okay answer.
Council Morocco.
What I was gonna ask was what determines like the 150? What determines that number?
So what we need to do is demonstrate our ability to spend it. So we have to have, similar to the CDBG housing grant, where we had to bring a wait list that was 3 times the number of houses we said we could fix. With this, we have to tell them, we have this broad, set of businesses that are ready to take us up on this, and we know we can spend it in that amount of time. It's taken a while this first time for me, because of the kind of staffing issues that I just mentioned. So for our next application, we need to be in that same amount. If we do that well and quickly, we'll then actually be able to do a shortened, quicker application at the end of that to move forward faster. And I think that this is about the right size for a total ask. I'd just like us to be able to do it every 9 months, if it were super smooth.
Anybody from the public that would like to speak on that topic? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Thank you, David. We're going to move on to proclamations. First proclamation is Black History Month. Whereas Black History Month serves as a celebration and potent reminder that Black history is American history. Black culture is American culture. Black stories are interwoven into the fabric of America. our struggles, our progress, our dreams, and sacrifices made to create a brighter future for all Americans. And whereas the social awareness of Black history is vital to fulfilling our growth and development as a community, state, and nation. We celebrate the contributions of Black Americans, honor the legacies and achievements of past generations, and confront injustices that remain today. And whereas such knowledge can nourish perception for all our citizens concerning this issue of civil rights, the progress that has been made to eliminate barriers for all minorities, and the continuing struggle against racial discrimination, hate has no home in Geneva. And whereas in 2025 theme, African American and labor, is a powerful reflection on the pivotal role that the hard work of African Americans has played in shaping our country's history. And whereas African Americans and labor intends to encourage broad reflections on intersections between Black people's work and their workplaces and all their iterations and key moments, themes, and events in Black history and culture across time and space and throughout the U.S., like religion, social and justice movements, and education, studying African Americans' labor and labor struggles are important to organizing efforts for new interpretations and reinterpretations of the Black past, present, and future. Such new considerations and reconsiderations are even more significant as the historical forces of racial oppression gather new and renewed strength in the 21st century. And whereas considering Black people's work through the widest perspectives provides versatile and insightful platforms for examining Black life and culture through time and space. In this instance, the notion of work constitutes compensated labor in factories, the military, government agencies, office buildings, public service, and private homes. But it also includes the community building of social justice activists, voluntary workers serving others, and institution building in churches, community groups, and social clubs and organizations. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Steve Valentino, the mayor of the city of Geneva, on behalf of this city council, do hereby proclaim the month of February 2025 as Black History Month and ask all residents of Geneva to celebrate diversity and reflect on historical events, the culture, the heritage, Black Power, Black Lives Matter, Africa, America, and famous figures. I urge all residents to join in making this period a rededication to the principles of justice, equality for all people. This next resolution was actually presented at an event at the Nestor Hose on Saturday, but I'd like to read it in public. Whereas Michael Stramantinoli began his service with the City of Geneva Nestor Hose Company on February 4th, 1975, as a volunteer firefighter. And whereas Michael has faithfully and conscientiously served the Nestor Hose Company and the citizens of the Geneva for 50 years, during which period of time he was dedicated to firefighting support, fundraising, and Nestor Hose Corporation. And whereas these years of service have been recognized by exemplary dedication to the best interest of the community, as Michael has worked constantly to support and give back to his community, and whereas the City of Geneva continues to benefit greatly because of Michael's commitment to supporting his fellow firefighters and the city. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Steve Valentino, in my capacity as mayor of the City of Geneva, and on behalf of this entire City Council, would like to congratulate Michael Stramantinoli on 50 years of volunteer service with Nestor Hose Company, and express our sincere appreciation and gratitude to Michael for his unwavering loyalty, dedication to the residents of the City of Geneva over the past 50 years. Whereas David Lavoie began his service with the City of Geneva Nestor Hose Company on August 5th, 1975 as volunteer firefighter, and whereas David has faithfully and conscientiously served the Nestor Hose Company and the citizens of Geneva for 50 years, during which period of time he was dedicated to firefighting support, fundraising, and the Nestor Hose Corporation. And where these years of service have been recognized by exemplary dedication to the best interest of the community, as David has worked constantly to support and give back to his community. And whereas the City of Geneva continues to benefit greatly because of David's commitments to supporting his fellow firefighters and the city. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Steve Valentino, in my capacity as mayor of the city of Geneva, and on behalf of the entire city council, would like to congratulate David Lavoie on 50 years of volunteer service with the Nestor Hose Company and express our sincere appreciation and gratitude for David for his unwavering loyalty and dedication to the residents of the city of Geneva over the past 50 years. Okay, next on the agenda is a presentation for the 2024 year in review presented by our city manager.
All right. I'm not sure why it's not showing up here, but I will try again. There it is. All right, so 2024 in review. I will go through this fairly quickly, but it'll be available on our website as well as in our meeting notes for everyone. We'll talk a little bit about what has happened this year, some successes that we've had, some challenges ahead, some impressive metrics, I would say, from our departments, and a little bit of 2025 planning, which council and department heads have been engaged in the last few months. I start every meeting really with our mission. Our mission as a city is to provide efficient and responsible government services, allowing everyone to enjoy the benefits of living and working in our uniquely urban city. The vision actually comes a lot of this from our current comprehensive plan, envisioning a city that's beautiful, prosperous, connected, equitable, and sustainable. And then our organizational values, looking at the safety and how we provide services to our residents, innovation, looking for change and encouraging creative solutions to the challenges we face, promoting caring and respect in every interaction between employees and community members, serving with integrity and honor, committing to transparent and honest and ethical behaviors, and service and stewardship, acknowledging that the city as an organization is stewards of not only public resources, but of a community that many, many people call home. As a council and department heads, we've spent some time in the last several months, and while this is a year in review, this was more formed at the end of 2024, and I think there's still some final wordsmithing that I know Councilor Whitfield and I have to do on these, but these are the council goals that we're working with through the strategic thinking sections that we had. Goal 1 is really ensuring fiscal and organizational stewardship of our city resources. And that's looking at how we manage those resources to achieve the goals and long-term financial health for the city. Goal 2 is promoting economic development within the city, making sure that we're improving the economic and social well-being of the city, and we're providing equitable programs, policies, and activities to achieve these goals. Increase in sustaining intergovernmental relationships with city partners, ensuring that we acknowledge that the city is a very diverse community, and how are we working and leveraging all of those partners, not just here in the city, but within the region, the surrounding towns and other municipalities, as well as Ontario County, and then our business community and other partners here. Goal 4 is develop and implement strategies to continue dynamic communications regarding city actions. How are we sharing our information and ensuring that community members know what is happening and how they are being supported by the city and the services that we provide? Goal 5 is enhancing the quality of life for our city residents, and this is ensuring that there's equitable access to all of our essential services and amenities and opportunities, things like recreation services, our infrastructure, our public safety, and our neighborhood engagement, ensuring that all members of our community, including those from historically marginalized or underserved groups, really can fully participate and thrive within our community. And then goal 6 is more broad, and it's working collaboratively with the community to collect and deliver positive population performance metrics for the city of Geneva. As a keeper of a lot of information and data, it's ensuring that we're looking at that, and as we're making our choices, we're looking at ways to improve those metrics, and then we're able to really dig down into those metrics to say who are we improving them for and ensuring that it's across the board. So 2024 successes. This is small print. I am not going to read it all. I asked all of the departments to give me some of their successes that they experienced this year. And you can tell some of these. these are just around kind of that stewardship piece of the city resources. So things like ensuring that we have replacing our computer systems, we have the technology, that we have safe technology. This year we did include emails for all city employees, which does not sound like a lot, but not all of our employees actually had email access. And so as we start looking at things like electronic payroll, some of our employees weren't afforded that access. So we have increased that. So all of our employees now have that. We also brought on new personnel in the fire department here, as mentioned, 2 new career firefighters, 12 new volunteers. We promoted an assistant fire chief. Other things here, we replaced one of our 23-year-old fire engines with a brand new fire engine. We updated the city's investment policy. We established more regular capital projects meetings so we can stay on top of that. We finalized deed-transfers to put auction properties on the tax roll. So we were putting properties that the city owned back on that. We completed negotiations and a ratification of 4 bargaining agreements out of 6 agreements, which is quite a task. We also transitioned 84 active employees and 43 retirees to a new health insurance model in 2024, which brought some cost savings to the city and provides good benefits for our employees. And now we are doing additional transitioning of our retirees within their health insurance model. We've also onboarded an entire new city council with 7 new members. We welcomed a new city clerk, police chief, and comptroller in 2024. We've worked with the city boards and commissions to fill vacancies. We created a balanced budget. We adopted new policies and created our first administrative policy to set the procedure for policy making. That was a very exciting time, I'm sure, for council to adopt that. And we did daily operations things like collecting quarterly water meeting readings and billing and ensuring that all of our water services are continuing. We also looked at things like onboarding new city council members. This is a repeat slide, but I will move on here to promoting economic development within the city. And we awarded $153,000 in the micro enterprise assistance funding, the MAP program, now called the BEST program, which we just talked about. We completed the economic development strategic plan for the Planning and Economic Development Department, IDA, LDC, and the BID. And we had community meetings and neighborhood participation. We relaunched the revolving loan fund. We applied for additional funding and secured additional funding for homeowner rehab programs. We also secured funding for the Doran Bridge. So these all contribute to that economic development within the city. As far as increasing and sustaining intergovernmental relationships, we coordinated with Ontario County to review the housing study and develop solutions for some of the housing challenges in Geneva, which is something you're going to be acting on later tonight. I attended a lot of quarterly meetings to ensure that we have open communications with others. The mayor and I met with members of the Ontario County Board of Supervisors and the county administration team more regularly. And staff are working on a quarterly basis to meet more with the colleges to ensure that those relationships continue. And then communications. More than 70 city update e-blasts reach over 3,000 subscribers. More than 330 social media posts posted, reaching over 12,000 viewers. Our council meetings are regularly streamed. We've worked with the LDC to hold our first neighborhood meeting. And these are some of the pictures of some of the social media posts and, you know, pushing out that people can sign up for public comment and be a part of the process. Enhancing quality of life. This was the most successful and best attended year of the farmers market. We've seen higher rates of people coming to that. We saw 10,379 open skate sessions and sold 394 individual rink passes at the rink during the ice season, and that's only a part of what the rink offers and operates. The police department held its first teen academy in summer of 2024. And brought youth in to see more about policing as well as fire services, EMT services, court services, and other items. There was a record-setting year of 2,759 responses by the fire department. The volume of calls is up due to an increase in EMS calls, enforcement calls, and we've gotten better at how we're tracking our data. One of the pieces, we did have 53 total fires this year within the city. 10 of those were building fires that we've responded to. There was 0 loss of life from those fires and minimal property damage. We reviewed our parks and playgrounds for safety. We completed road work and drainage improvements at Glenwood Cemetery. We included our ongoing maintenance programs, looking at things like Castle Creek debris removal, winter operations of roads, yard debris pickups, street resurfacing, and ongoing management services. And we hosted thousands of visitors and residents during the 2024 eclipse. So there were a few challenges this year, and there's some challenges that we know we're going to face into the future. So challenges that we faced or are facing, deferred maintenance throughout our facilities. A lot of our facilities have not had long-term maintenance or repairs, which means when we go to repair these things, first off, we are not covered by insurance if there's additional damage because we've deferred our maintenance. And secondly, the cost of repair has increased because we didn't take care of it earlier. Also, the focus on deferred maintenance means that we're not always focused on our daily duties because something that we've band-aided in the past is now a bigger challenge. We had a full-time staffing shortage at the recreation department due to unforeseen circumstances, but when you go back to success, you'll see our 2 remaining full-time equivalents took it on, as well as the seasonal employees, and really made sure that the department was still functioning, although we were faced that. Our costs of operations continue to outpace our adopted budgets. Human resources, and you can tell that these are all from different departments, is ever changing, which makes that sometimes having those tasks and priorities focused means that they focus on the HR matters and can't get into those. Lag payroll for negotiating is something that we're going to continue to look at. Currently, our employees are paid to date, which means that when they receive their paychecks, they're paid for the same time. When we move to electronic payroll, this is something that we want to change, and it needs to be negotiated. Shifting the organizational culture to focus on consistent first-rate internal and external customer service is another challenge. Culture change is a big one. City records inventory, challenges presented due to location and condition of some records. We need to update that. We've had limited capacity for the level of communications and community involvement desired by the department and community. Personnel challenges sometimes results in turnover. You'll see another records management at the Geneva Police Department, something we're working on with the county. And a lot of times we have been reactive versus proactive. And so that means that we have those needs in the city. And then the final piece that I think the comptroller and I have been talking about more and more since I've been back from vacation is the unknown economic factors related to our federal and state aid. And then impacts we are making. So there's a lot of impacts being made. And you'll see that some things are up and some things are down. This is the city clerk's office. We're collecting new metrics starting this year. But some of the things to know is total license issued by that office. They're issuing, last year was 907, this year is 864, so staying about the same. In the city manager's office, the amount of grant revenue awarded doesn't mean it's spent in 2024. It'll go on in different years. Just about 2.5 million awarded in 2024, and we are still working on those contracts. Information technology, you'll see our phishing tests have gone down, which means that our staff, including myself, are not opening those phishing emails this time. This time? Yep, I will own it.
I just sent you one.
Did you? Okay, thank you.
No, I forwarded it to the IT team.
Okay, good. Numbers of cameras installed and maintained, we're continuing to increase our surveillance and have decreased some of our technology costs. Planning and economic development, we saw 10 businesses opened in downtown. We were able to sell city property this year, so you see value of city property sold to return to taxable use. And then we had a number of new housing units approved by the Planning Board or Code Office. So going from 1 to 15 is progress in the right direction. And then at the farmers market, we went from 72 to 95 total vendors, and averaging, 11 new vendors a week at the farmers market. Tax collection, you'll see that we're staying pretty steady there. Average rate of investment return, we have seen an increase on our investment return, and hopefully we'll continue to see that increase. Our assessment side of the house, equalization rate was at 78%. We brought it to 100%, and which increased our taxable assessed value as a city. Fire department, number of calls, as mentioned previously, has gone way up. Number of mutual aid calls has gone down. Code enforcement visits is up a little, and then our hours of training stays pretty consistent between around 6,000. Police department, total police calls dispatched, slight increase. Body worn camera activation compliance hours, you'll see we added in how many hours of video is part of that. Use of force incident completion, this also has to do with some of how we're tracking the data, and then our overtime hours is down. Human Resource Department, there was a slight change between 2023 and 2024 on the budgeted positions. We filled 13 full-time positions. Onboardings and hires, new hires and rehires, these could be seasonal employees, so we're staying around 40. And then retention rate, retirement, resignation. Again, this can also be seasonals. It doesn't mean that our full-time, we lost 34 full-time staff. It could be seasonals as well. Rink passes went up. Number of youth and summer camps, so it was an all-day summer camp this year too, which was a change. So we had 50 average per week over 6 weeks. And then number of days per year the rink complex is in use actually increased. You'll see though that the rink complex year is April to March. We do it by season, so it's a little different than the annual. Public Works, it's always impressive to me when you think of the park and acres maintained, that we're maintaining 108 acres when we talk about mowing and things like that. Cemeteries, we do maintain 2 cemeteries and 71 acres. We have burials, which city staff attend to those burials. Miles of improvements, we did have 20 streets improved this year. Right-of-way permits stayed about the same. Tree complaints went down slightly. Code enforcement, 541 to 485. Building permits, and then court cases by code enforcement went down some. DPW has a lot because they are of wide variety, so you'll see street and sewer trips, winter trips, de-ice stays slightly down. Cleanup events, unfortunately, stayed the same. Tree yard debris, I believe that is in the second quarter, so that's down because it's not a full year. You'll see that for collected food scraps from the landfill is also from second quarter 2024. And then the last thing is looking at water break repairs, 35 total in 2024, slightly up. Daybook service calls, quite a bit up. We are wastewater treatment also is up, and then you'll see catch basins repaired, and sewer breaks repaired is actually down. So when we look into 2025, this is something council is very familiar with, and again, I am not going to read them all, but these are some of the things that departments have put forward as areas we're going to continue to work on. So things like organizational excellence, electronic payroll, the water and sewer rate study, continuing to do city-owned property inventory and disposition, updating our risk management plan with the increased chlorine regulations, completing a risk and vulnerability assessment, some of the park repairs and maintenance, looking at HVAC at the public safety building, replacing the doors at the Welcome Center, a gazebo replacement at the lakefront, window replacement and cornice repairs here at City Hall, repairing courts at Nieder Park and Brook Street, replacement signage at some of the parks, and then roof repairs at Department of Public Works and the fire department. And then things like ensuring that our physical files are reviewed, starting to talk about our DRI plan for the future, another phase of DRI, as well as comprehensive plan updates and developments, the completion of the rec complex plan, transitioning to national incident-based reporting is something with the police department, promoting economic development in the city. Again, some of this will be moving on. We've launched the short-term rental program, so we'll want to continue to hone that program. Implementing a business visitation program, collaborating continually with the LDC and IDA, and then looking at intergovernmental relationships, continuing to work with the county and other partners, and then continuing a lot of the things that we're doing with communications, acknowledging what capacity we have available there, and then enhancing the quality of life for city residents. These are some of the projects that we have, some of our road projects, the ATAT expansion at the wastewater treatment plant, cellular water meter replacements, which is something we'll talk more about as that comes up, focus on recruiting more volunteers in our firefighter program, CDBG housing program, Restore New York program, things that David just spoke about, looking at the Farmers Market Administration and then the concert series implementation for next year, which is a sponsored event that our community often sponsors, and we'll look to continue that. The police department is starting an officer wellness program, looking at reinvigorating the community compact, and then working with some of our other partners to talk about summer slide and learning for our youth. And ultimately, these all came from all of the department heads, and so this is my thank you to them, as well as city council and our community members, to just acknowledge that a lot was done in 2024. And we'll now prepare for 2025, if we're already in it, and looking forward to the beyond.
Thank you very much. It's a very thorough presentation with a lot of information. They'll be testing on that a little bit later, so I hope you remember
There's a
that.
quiz?
Yep.
Next is a discussion on bonding in 2025 presented by our city comptroller.
If you thought that was exciting.
Wow.
So, in March, I'm going to be bringing forward a resolution approving a bond resolution, or approving the bond. What I wanted to do was kind of add a step. Because it's been a few years, I think, since the city has bonded for capital projects. Some of the city councilors haven't been through that yet. So I wanted to have a general discussion on that beforehand, because there is some work that staff does and bond counsel, and the bond counsel work does have a cost associated with it. So I wanted to make sure we were all kind of on the same page prior to moving forward. And so what I've included in here, in this packet here, is the 2025 capital plan. So that's what you'll see that lists out the projects. After that is the 5-year debt forecast, which does not include the projects we're talking about here. However, the page after that does show the annual debt service costs that would be added if you were to approve these projects. And again, not approving anything tonight. It's just a discussion so I can get a good idea of, are we on board with the capital plan that was approved, or are there other discussions to be had? Couple quick things to note. The total bonding amount would be $4.425 million. There are some grants that are associated with that. So that $4.425 million is just the amount that would be bonded for. It would go across the general water and sewer funds, adding approximately $400,000 per year in debt service split over those three funds. We would be looking at roughly $110,000 a year in general fund, and it varies, but roughly around 110. Water about 100, and sewer about 180. And that's assuming a 3.75% interest rate, which is the rate that that they gave me that's typical as of right now, obviously subject to change. So that's kind of the information. I can go quickly through just the listing of, well, they're up there, so I guess I don't need to, but I guess we'll just start with if there's any questions on the projects. Again, these were they were approved as a part of the budget, but we still have to approve a bond resolution in March, so I want to have that discussion tonight.
Counselor Peeler.
Real quick, one, I like project-based bonding. I don't know the current interest rate on these bonds. I do know that if the interest rate is lower than the rate of inflation, we're making out more or less on the money, because the longer you pay it back, your dollar carries more weight. So that's intelligent bonding. So maybe if you can let us know what the interest rates are, and then secondly, so basically two questions. How much of the town is going to share in the bonding for our water and sewer? Because I believe they do share in our bonding.
So I'll answer the last part first. So the town does pay a percentage of what I call our 4 wastewater pages. So there's sewer maintenance, wastewater treatment plant, the miscellaneous, which is just the other things, and then the debt. Off the top of my head, I don't remember what the debt one is. I think it's 12% of the total. And that's just of the total debt number that we have. So it's not necessarily even one that may be related to specifically to the town getting an improvement. It's just the overall, because the city has to maintain it for the town as well.
Right.
We just charge that percentage. I believe it's 12. I can verify that for you by the end of the night. And as far as the bond rates that we have, all of them are lower than 3.75 as of today. Because a lot of these are from 5, 6, 10 years ago. And those bond rates at the time were, some of them were 1%. I don't think any of them went higher than 2.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Counselor Lavin.
Mr. Blowers, you stated a moment ago that these have been approved and in the budget. The last thing I heard on this marina was that we were still waiting to hear the cost before we decided to go forward on that or not.
Yep.
And that's one question. The other one I had, what is the total debt indebtedness of the city at this point?
Let me see here.
And does this 4 million that you're describing extend that, or are we retiring
So
at the same or at a rate that will cover that?
So we would be, more debt would be coming off than would be going on for 2026. So in 2025, we would make an interest-only payment on whatever we bond for. In 2026, we would have more debt coming off our books than going on in terms of annual payments. And in total indebtedness, the last time I checked, it was around 32 million. And that's general water and sewer.
Right.
And
And
again,
that-
that's something I can verify.
That represents about 20% of our tax levy goes to cover that. I'm not sure the levy, but of our
Of tax revenue?
right tax revenue that goes towards that is like 20%.
15 to 20% usually,
Right,
yeah.
Right. So this 4 million that you're talking about here, some of them are just must-dos. And it's the best way to fund it. But there are things like the lakefront marina
Yep.
that is going to commit us to $1 million or more, and we have not yet heard the cost of the
Correct.
project. We're still we're not committing to make that bond payment or
No.
to do that at this point until we hear those costs. right?
Correct. So one thing I should have mentioned, so what we'll be looking at first is a BAN, which is a bond anticipation note.
Right.
So what that is we're borrowing for what we think the project is going to cost. And then when the bids come in, if that number is higher, then we have a decision to make. Do we borrow more? Do we come up with a different funding source? Do we decide we're not doing it? And then when the BAN rolls into a bond, which is just like it's maturing, then you can basically give that money back at no penalty, and then you don't do the project.
So do you have the option of not expending anything towards that project until we hear the costs.
Yes, you do have that option.
You have that.
Yep.
So that I mean, part of the, and I'm no offense, a big fan of the manager and the workers of the city, but the 32 million is an enormous weight on the shoulders of the tax situation we're in as a city. And the speed with which we can reduce that is a tax reduction. And it's, there was not a lot of talk for 25. There's a lot of projects, a lot of things we have to do, but one of them, the biggest one, is we have to reduce taxes. And we did not do that this year. And so that, I think that our ability to see the connection between these deferred payments of indebtedness and the impact on the taxes of the people of the city, it needs to be part of this discussion as well. And particularly on projects that I don't think, as far as I know, that this council for certain has not endorsed. And yet we're running out, we're heading down the road to expend money on that. So.
And I will just say on the lakefront improvements marina project, that also is tied to some grant funding, which if those bids come back in and we're not moving in favor of a marina, there may be ways to reappropriate that grant. It has to fall in the same parameters. And then we would come forward and say, this is what it would cost to get there. So there's some contingencies to that.
Right, but if you take $1 million off of what we owe, that's a nice bang on the levy.
Mhm.
And it's not, it doesn't, anyway.
Council Petropoulos.
Okay, so I'm looking at obviously the Pulteney Street sewer project's underway. What exactly does the sewer infrastructure maintenance program entail? And just yes or no question, really, and it's probably a question for Mr. Venuti, but would that help alleviate some of the excess water we get? In other words, are we mucking out clogged sewers? Are we expanding anything? What does that $250,000 do for us?
So thank you, Counselor. Cleaning catch basins and manholes, both stormer catch basins. Storm system also has manholes. Sanitary, there are laterals and manholes. So for that money, we were looking to do some additional cleaning, lining, televising, and see where we can make repairs. $250,000 does not go very far. Just so you all know, like it's probably close to $80 to $90 per foot. So if you do the math, you don't get a lot for $250,000.
And the reason this is called a maintenance program is because you'll see it when you look back at your budget book and you look at 2026 planned capital projects and forward. It's an ongoing $250,000 to just continue what we're doing now. It doesn't expand anything. It just continues on.
Anybody else? Council Brennan?
Back to the marina, please, Adam. The $1.5 million, this is not to cover obligations that we currently have, but it would be earmarked for expenses that we anticipate, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, Dave. Joe?
So everyone is aware, the advertisement for bids for the marina was posted last week, and we are accepting bids on February 20th currently. That's the posted date. A couple of contractors have already asked for a bid extension, but we're negotiating that right now. The plan is to have bids due on the 20th of February.
Thank you. Yeah, Council Grimaldi?
Adam, on here for that 4.4, you have an annual debt service of 400,000. I know you can't come up with it right away, but could you get us later how much is coming off? I mean, because otherwise we're spending an extra 400,000 just on this.
Yep, I can get you the exact numbers.
Yeah, it's just so we can see where it balances
Sure.
out.
Nothing else? Adam, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
If I may, Mayor.
Yep.
One piece too on Councilor Grimaldi's question. All of this is also in your budget book, so you can see what is coming off and on for multiple years in the back of your budget books too.
But there's not an obligation here to match. That what comes off goes back on. In a perfect world, we're reducing the overall indebtedness so that we can spend less of the tax money on next year's indebtedness.
Wish the federal government would do the same thing. Yeah, and I think, that's important because we do have a debt limit that we're allowed, but that's a scary number too. So we're well below that debt limit.
Correct.
Next is a consideration of meeting minutes. We have January 8th, 2025, January 17th, 2025, and January 25th, 2025. I need a motion.
So moved.
I have, hold on. I have Counselor Peeler with a second by Counselor Petropoulos. Clerk, when you're ready, please call the roll.
Counselor Whitfield,
Aye.
Counselor Morocco. Aye. Counselor Petropoulos.
Aye.
Counselor Gilat,
Aye.
Counselor Grimaldi,
Aye.
Counselor Peeler,
Aye.
Counselor Lavin,
Aye.
Counselor Brennan,
Aye.
Mayor Valentino.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next, we have public comment. Just to remind the public that it's a 3-minute limit, and the city clerk will be keeping time. First one I have is Catherine Price from the BID.
I don't know why I'm doing it. Just came out of nowhere.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what we're doing this weekend. We have our Winter Arts Festival. So one of the things that the bid does for Geneva is to bring traffic downtown, especially during the times when it's cold and there's not a lot of traffic. In the winter, you can see tumbleweeds from January to March, and we're trying to change a little bit of that. So in 2023, we started the Winter Arts Festival, and it's a combination of a film festival and an art walk, and we're expanding it. Year over year, we keep expanding it and growing larger. So this year, I'll start with the art walk. I gave everybody maps. There are more maps I can hand out to everybody in the audience as well if you would like. So that is going to be anchored at the Dove Block and at the Bizzuto Center. And we have various locations around downtown, as well as Winter Market at the Welcome Center. We have over 50 artists spread around downtown Geneva. So please come in, walk around, see everybody, and do a little bit of shopping. Get that Valentine's Day gift. Then we have the film festival. So the film festival we started in 2022, and this is our 4th year. We changed the name from the Geneva Downtown Film Festival to the Finger Lakes Film Festival to reflect the fact that it has grown in scope, and we wanted to reflect the greater region besides just Geneva. So the wonderful thing about this is that this year we have 17 filmmakers coming from around the country to stay here for 3 days, as well as students and family members coming in from RIT. They bring a tremendous amount of business for the 3 days into Geneva. So that will start with a cocktail party on Friday and end at Lake Drum on Saturday evening. The films will be showing at the Smith Opera House from 6 to 10 p.m. on Friday, and then at the Dove Block from 11 to 3 p.m. In the Jim Spates Theater. I'm super passionate about this film festival. It really is a celebration of film and video artists who have stories to tell and the passion to tell them. It's very much about highlighting diverse voices and commitment to cinematic art. So we do hope that you'll come out and enjoy the chilly weather on Friday and Saturday and visit downtown Geneva. Thank you.
I have a question. Where's the initial cocktail party going on?
Enora.
Enora.
Thursday at Enora from 5 to 7.
Mm-hmm.
Then we do have VIP passes available for the film festival that will get you a cocktail sponsored by Fox Run Vineyards. We'll be pouring their wine, and you can do a meet and greet with the filmmakers at the Smith from 4 to 6. And then the film festival goes from 6 to 10. And then we're doing a cocktail after party at the Linden Social until close probably. And then Saturday from 11 to 3, and then Lake Drum for the after party there.
I just wanted to, maybe I'm looking at the map wrong, but I don't see Enora noted on here, so maybe that's...
So that's for the art walk that you're looking at. So that's
The
Saturdays.
film festival's not included in that?
That's not, the film festival is not in that. That is just the art walk featuring different artists throughout downtown.
Okay. I thought the film festival was like either capstoning or kicking it off.
It's in conjunction with.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Next, we have Catherine Haynes.
Good evening, Mayor, City Manager, and council members. My name is Catherine Slanning Haynes, and I live in Ward 1. I am here with one community request and a few positives. And here's the request. Property owners are supposed to clear the walkways on their property of snow and ice within 24 hours of snowfall. From firsthand experience, I'd say the compliance with this ordinance is somewhere around 50%. Even if there isn't a significant amount of snow, as has been the case this winter, a few inches of snow gets walked down and then turns into ice. The sidewalks can become very treacherous, and walking in the streets is dangerous. So this is a plea to all homeowners, and including landlords, to please make sure your sidewalks are clean and safe for pedestrians. And I know from experience it's really difficult to be a walker out there. Now for the positives. Too often I hear complaints about Geneva. Sometimes it feels like it has just become a habit to complain. I simply wanted to raise up some of the good things that have taken place over the past month. I realize that this isn't anywhere near an exhaustive list, but it's a start. So first, on a very cold January 20th, the 58th annual Martin Luther King Day March and service was held. It was well attended and the service was inspirational. The MLK Memorial Choir is always a high point, and if you miss this event, the choir will be performing this Friday at the Geneva Library at 7 o'clock, and I encourage everybody to go. 2, members of our community have been frightened and businesses have been impacted by fears related to recent threats of detention of undocumented people. It is rewarding to see community members supporting those businesses and individuals who have been impacted, as well as people showing up for the vigil of solidarity and hope on Saturday, as well as a march that was held later that same day. We are a community of immigrants with waves of people coming to this area, including Irish, Italian, Syrian, and I confess I have not done my homework to be able to identify all the waves of immigrants that have come to Geneva. But it is sad to note that with each wave of immigrant has faced similar forms of dehumanization, and we can do better. 3, our excellent city staff continues to work hard on our behalf. I'm not in the loop enough to know everything that's being worked on, although we've got a whole lot of lists tonight. But I just noticed in the Finger Lakes Times that the CDBG grant of $600,000 that we're going to be getting for housing, which has been an ongoing problem that's been identified. So thank you very much to staff for all the hard work that you've been doing. And lastly, the Founders Square Neighborhood Ad Hoc Committee is sponsoring a Love Your Neighborhood cookie exchange from 1 to 2 this coming Saturday, February 8th at the Presbyterian Church in a community celebration of Valentine's Day. Bring 24 cookies to share and swap them out with cookies from your neighbors. So Geneva is a great place to live. Let's focus on our strength, lift up our neighbors, and support one another. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Judy Salati.
Good evening. My name is Judy Salati, and I'm in Ward 5. And first of all, I want to thank the councilman from Ward 4, 5, and 6, and the other councilman that also attended the town meeting, the town hall meeting. I thought it was very good. I thought there was a lot of dialogue and good conversation, so I thank you for that. Now, the reason why I'm here this evening is I was on the flood task force. And in November, we presented our recommendations to City Council. And I know it's only been a couple months, but in a couple months, we're going to be in the middle of a flood season again. And as a point, my house flooded April 4th. So this is what we're looking at. So my question is what is City Council, what have you done with the information that we gave you, your discussions or your plans, or what is happening with that? I just don't want to let that fall by the wayside. So that's my question to you.
We can give you an answer. Public comment is just for receiving comments.
Okay,
But,
all
yeah,
right.
for us to give you an answer right now would not be.
When would that be possible to get a response? And how would I get a response?
We'll try to provide a response at our next meeting. How's that? Is that okay?
That's fine, thank
Okay,
you.
yeah. Next, I have Jim Laws.
I'm Jim Laws, I'm Ward 2, and I'm talking about the new driveways that the school want to put in. And I just started back in 1996. I've been fighting all these years. And the first traffic study, they said, if you're going to put another road in Nursery Avenue, it should be opposite of Greenhurst. So the school didn't like that, so they found another study, and they said, well, it's possible to do, but it'll probably make the value of the property in the area go down. And so that's been going on for a few years, and all of a sudden this past month, they got the whole thing mapped out, and I was wondering if you're still controlling the curbing that you did before. And I don't think it's a two-lane road that they want. And Greenhurst is opposite, and Nursery Avenue is busy, and I think it's just putting one area that they got problems with over on our street. So I don't know if tomorrow's going to be the vote, and I don't know if that puts that out of your hands or not. The curbs of cutting the curb.
Yeah, Mr. Laws, there's a lot of debate going on about that topic, and a lot of it is out of our hands. And I'm just wondering, are you voicing your concerns to the school board?
Well,
Okay,
we've been,
yeah.
For many years.
That's
In
one
fact,
of the,
there used to be two driveways on Nursery Avenue. And they sold the land to me on the north side and some land on the south side. And the one that they wanted to put the road in, they said, well, all we need is for emergency, like fire trucks and so forth. And this thing has just come up in the past month. They did it so everybody's on vacation and they don't get a chance to.
yeah, the city has limited to no input or no authority on what the school is doing there, unfortunately.
Well, before you had authority to not to cut the curb.
No, I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah, because the past few months, you referred to because we got so much flooding going on.
I'm going to ask a counselor from that ward to try to get back to Mr. Laws, please.
We've spoken many times.
Okay, about the
And-
curb cut specifically.
About well, I think the only person that can answer that is Joe, and he's right there.
Let's do it. This is public comments.
I
Let's do it
understand.
up.
I understand.
Okay. We'll give you an answer on the curb cut.
Okay.
But yeah, we recommended that he voice his concerns and
Yep, thank you.
school board, and that's the.
Next, I have Pat Schiller.
That vote is tomorrow. That's an early meeting. They changed the time. 4:30 or something. Everyone's working.
Hello. I live on West Street. I live just past the school. I don't know if any of you drive your children, grandchildren, whatever to the school, but there's a bit of a traffic jam quite often. I know 2 stop signs were put in. Doesn't really make that much of a difference. We have a lot of crossing guards in Geneva that do a wonderful job. And the crossing guard that is at Weston William does a great job. He not only crosses the children, he directs traffic. And if you count up the lanes, there are really 8 lanes of traffic. in that little corner, because there are the parents or grandparents parking on the left or right-hand side, depending if you're on West Street or if you're on High Street. There are cars going back and forth, and without someone there to direct traffic, it really is awful. Now, the traffic guard that has been there was told he can no longer direct traffic because he is a crossing guard. I have spoken with the chief of police, and they have had a policeman there at least maybe 2 or 3 days. But I think it's essential that either the police be there in the morning and in the afternoon, and some cars arrive like an hour before school starts, and likewise when it's going to be dismissed. But I think it's very important for the safety of the kids, as well as for the safety of the cars that are there. And our crossing guard has done a wonderful job, and I am hoping that he will be able to either be trained or whatever so that he can be back on duty, or at least the police will be there every day, 2 times a day. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a thankless job, I can tell you. Next is our city manager report.
Okay. So I'll be very brief, I think. Just a couple of updates so people are aware, and some thank yous. The city did sponsor a warming station during the colder months, our colder time last month, and at the fire department, and that's something we'll continue to offer if needed. Streetlight outages, we do know that there have been streetlight outages. We encourage people to continue to use our complaints at Geneva email or the report a street outage form on the webpage. We do have one single city electrician who is battling this and is working with that, and Director Venuti and I are talking on later this week or next week about how to continue with this, but please be patient as we work through all of these streetlight outages. Under the shared services header, Chief Parada and I we hosted the fire departments of White Springs, Westlake Road, Northside, and Border City. And we were joined with Mayor Valentino, Supervisor Venuti, Supervisor Trout, and Councilwoman Salone from Fayette to discuss ways to enhance operational efficiencies, fortify our community resource, and minimize costs, as well as mutual support for each of those agencies. Each of the groups talked about the number of their current volunteers, their average response times by department, the numbers of events they responded to in 2024, the equipment that they bring. One of the pieces with the fire departments is each department has different equipment. So when you have all of those different resources, you don't need to have them each internally. You can utilize each other, as well as mutual aid. Chief Parada is now collecting a lot of data from each of those to continue these discussions. Some of the other things that we discussed included challenges with volunteerism, especially during the hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Volunteers are not usually available, so when a call comes into a volunteer department, that's a challenging time for them. The first step for all of us under the shared services header is to really look at what is happening and how we move forward. Other shared services, water and sewer, an RFP for water and sewer rate study will be released very soon. We just got that bid out for the marina. The next focus will be getting that water and rate and sewer study bid out, our RFP out. And then on the town side of things, the town representatives, along with Director Venuti and some of his staff, we all met to discuss grant funding available to create a transfer station here in the city of Geneva on Doran Ave. As previously reported, a city transfer station would be staffed by a town employee. It would be in conjunction. We're looking to pilot this program with an anticipated start date in April of this year. So we are moving forward with that. Some grant funding has made that possible, and we'll continue to work on that. And as part of the 2025 budget process, we made a commitment to keep vacancies, so not to fully staff our organization, but to have at least two rolling vacancies all year. That stopped us from eliminating positions, but it does mean that we'll be down in some areas. Currently, we have 4 vacancies. We do have 3 conditional offers. How that works is some of our conditional officers have to go with police officers going to academy. So we do have 3 conditional offers. The 3 vacant are the current 4 vacancies, are 3 vacancies at the police department and 1 at the Department of Public Works. That vacancy will be the first one, I think, filled because I believe that person has signed their conditional offer letter and will be moving forward soon. We'll continue to update you each month on how many positions are continue to be vacant to reach that $200,000 in savings. And the only other thing that we still are getting calls on, our city tax bills were correct. There was a lot of news releases about the city of Canandaigua tax bill being incorrect. It was just the city of Canandaigua tax bill that was incorrect. It was not ours. So sorry for shattering some people's hopes and dreams that that tax bill was wrong.
Thank you very much, and welcome back.
Thank you.
Next on the unfinished business, the first or the only item on unfinished business is a resolution for the CDBG program application supporting Liquid Orchard by Director West.
I think we've discussed with the public hearing the basics of this program. If you have any questions, let me know.
I agree. I need a motion. Councilor Brennan, seconded by Councilor Gilat. Discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Whitfield.
Aye.
Counselor Morocco.
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos.
Aye.
Counselor Gilat.
Aye.
Counselor Grimaldi.
Aye.
Counselor Peeler.
Aye.
Counselor Lavin.
Aye.
Counselor Brennan.
Aye.
Mayor Valentino.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Moving on to new business, we have an ordinance. First reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 335, Vehicles and Traffic of the City of Geneva Municipal Code by Director Venuti.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, this is the first reading of what was briefed at last month's discussion. We had several complaints and requests from residents and constituents about some parking signs. The areas that are spelled out are some clarified language for East North Street, High Street, and Washington Street.
Okay, I need a motion.
So moved.
Councilor Petropoulos, seconded by Councilor Peeler. Discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Whitfield.
Aye.
Counselor Morocco.
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos.
Aye.
Counselor Gilat.
Aye.
Counselor Grimaldi.
Aye.
Counselor Peeler.
Aye.
Counselor Lavin.
Aye.
Counselor Brennan.
Aye.
Mayor Valentino.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next is a resolution amending the Shade Tree Committee Appointing Authority presented by Councilor Peeler.
Wonderful. So a little background on this. Last month, in December, I received a couple calls from constituents about trees falling down in their properties. And just inadvertently and accidentally, I went Googling our city's ordinances and codes about trees. I was presented with the Shade Tree Committee's ordinance and wasn't quite clear on whether they would be involved in any tree removal. I discovered that trees, clearly on people's private property are actually not so much the city's responsibility to take care of, so I uncovered that. But I also uncovered a discrepancy in the shade tree ordinance, and it was some confusing language. And it basically gave the authority of the city manager to appoint members, but then there was also a side requirement for city council to approve the members of the shade tree committee. And the way we were currently operating, we were not approving those members. They were just being unilaterally appointed by the city manager. So we had it reviewed by legal, and the review identified some of that language to be potentially revised for clarity. So that's what we're looking at right now. And do you want me to read the change of the 2 words?
For clarity, that would be...
Yep, we're changing 2 words. So the ordinance used to read that the city manager appointed them and the city council approved of them. And we're changing it to the city manager is nominating them and the city council is appointing them, which is essentially clears up language that we use in our charter and other documents.
And you're gonna make a motion?
And I'm gonna make that motion right now to make that two-word change.
Okay.
Am I right, David? It's a roughly 2 words?
Yeah, the change is that we are changing the appointing authority from the city manager to city council. The prospects would be nominated by the city manager, but you all would be the appointing authority, which means that you would, in addition to having the power to select who's on that committee, would also have the power to remove them or to not reappoint them.
Correct.
In the future. So this is just a motion to authorize the next step, which would be the preparation of an ordinance to amend, which I would have for you. I expect at the next city council meeting to move that process forward.
Very good. And in no way changes the city manager's ability to select the nominations that the city manager so chooses, correct?
Nope. So before,
That's correct.
That's
It's
correct,
Still
okay.
the city manager originating the nomination.
I'd like to get a second before we start having
Oh,
discussion. Second by Counselor Grimaldi. Discussion. Counselor
We're
Lavin?
we're not reconsidering any current members tonight.
No, definitely not. Just language in the ordinance. Anybody else? Counselor Petropoulos?
I presume this will bring all the board and committee procedures to be consistent. Because as far as I can ascertain, every other board and committee that I've either served on or interviewed with, the committee and/or the city, basically council is the final appointing authority. So this makes, in my opinion, this makes things consistent.
Not necessarily.
Unless I'm
No.
wrong?
No,
Please
it does
correct
not.
me.
So first off, the city manager nominating to it is not a consistent thing. There are very few that I nominate to.
No, I wasn't suggesting you did,
But,
but yeah.
so that is inconsistent.
Boards don't usually nominate and put
The
it
boards
forward.
may nominate, it may come from other places. And then as far as who the appointing authority, it depends on the committee. It's not always city council that has that appointing authority. It's, every committee is different in board. It's how it's created and what the intention is at that time of creation. This intention changes it to what this council would like to do, which is go in this other direction, but it does not make it consistent across all committees.
Why are we doing this for this one? Is there a reason behind it?
I can answer a little bit of that. The clarity is that we were still the approving body as the language of the ordinance required, and we weren't doing any approval whatsoever. So there really is no language that I've been able to find where council is an approving body. Usually that's an appointing body, and that those appointments happen through votes. So that's the inconsistency that I believe we basically kind of looked at.
So it's really a policy change or consideration by this council to determine whether or not they want to assume that role for this committee, or not.
Why would we do it for this committee and not the others that Mr. Petropoulos is pointing out for consistency?
Well, there's not too many others we don't appoint. I know of one, the Housing Authority, which is an appointment by the city manager. Other than that, I'm not familiar with too many we don't appoint.
And this is bringing it more in line with what we do.
Counselor
Well,
Brennan?
the manager just said we don't.
No, what she said is she doesn't normally nominate. Her side of the, really for more consistency, it would be the city manager wouldn't even be part of the process. That would make it more consistent. We're making it more consistent from a council standpoint, but this wasn't really to address the city manager's authority. It was more to address the council consistency.
Counselor Brennan?
But this also makes this council the removing authority, if it makes it the appointing authority.
Which is common across any other board or commission, being an appointed.
I'm curious about the timing of this too. That the Shade Tree Committee, you know, it's one of the most highly functioning committees we have, and just out of the blue, we seem to want to fix something, which I don't think is broken.
What do you mean by the timing? This was brought up in December.
Yeah. And here we are changing it, and
We just got the legal review.
yeah, well, I know.
Further discussion? Counselor Grimaldi?
I don't see where this is gonna change the committee any.
Yeah.
I mean, the committee's still the committee, it's still got the same people on it, and they do the same job. All it is straightening out,
So-
trying to start line up some of the committees.
So we don't anticipate changing anything in the Shade Tree Committee then?
There's nothing in here I saw that changes any. Just changes who appoints at the end, that's.
Mm-hmm.
That was the back, I mean, let's be honest, the back channel chat that one of the
Right.
council members is upset with some member of the Shade Tree Committee and wanted to clarify the way to get him off of it.
Well, you always get them off.
No, I realize that, but that's what's really happening here.
I think it's more we're straightening it out. I
Yeah.
like to see it straighten all of them out.
Yeah.
Because they all should be consistent. Everyone is different, is for the birds.
So I make a motion that we table this so that we can straighten them all out all at once.
I don't think we can we have to do each one individually, don't we?
There's a
Well,
motion to
it could-
table. After there's a motion to table, no discussion. Second for the motion to table. Counselor Lavin. Clerk, please call the roll on the motion to table the resolution.
Counselor Whitfield,
Aye.
Counselor Morocco,
Nay.
Counselor Petropoulos,
Nay.
Counselor Gilat,
Nay.
Counselor Grimaldi,
Nay.
Counselor Peeler,
Nay.
Counselor Lavin,
Yes.
Counselor Brennan,
Yes.
Mayor Valentino,
Nay.
motion defeated.
Back to the original resolution. Further discussion. Counselor Peeler.
So I think I really encourage the democratic process. If anyone else wants to put the time in, and I put considerable time reading the ordinances and looking at the documentation, if anyone else wants to do some work and put some motions on the agenda to straighten out any other committee, I encourage you to do it. I'm sure we'll all support it.
Can I, yes, you'd have to still do each committee separately, right?
You can. It's up to you on that, and what you decide from a policy standpoint makes sense. You don't have to wait on this one to change other ones, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, I can't really do a blanket because we have committees that are not the same.
You could not just have a general statement that said all committees are
Right.
changed in some fashion.
We
No,
would
you would
still-
want to identify everyone specifically.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we've had a hodgepodge of boards and commissions. We just changed the zoning board, we just changed the planning board. We've done a total review of all the boards and commissions and whether they were active or not active, so there's still a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of cleanup work that hasn't happened in years.
Yeah.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Whitfield,
Nay.
Counselor Morocco,
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos,
Aye.
Counselor Gilat,
Aye.
Counselor Grimaldi,
Aye.
Counselor Peeler,
Aye.
Counselor Lavin,
This is an attack on Mr. Norwalk, no.
It isn't.
Counselor Brennan,
Nay.
Mayor Valentino,
Aye.
motion carried.
Next is the resolution we added supporting adding a public hearing in the public hearing for the sale of city property, and I'm gonna take a stab at this. We'll have a public hearing in our March meeting
No, it's May.
for the sale of city property, and the properties that we're looking at are 29 Jackson Street from Home Leasing, property on Middle and Hallenbeck from Cook Properties, and a property on Crystal Street from Habitat from Humanity, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Counselor Peeler. Any discussion for setting the public hearing? Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Whitfield,
Yes.
Counselor Morocco,
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos,
Aye.
Counselor Gilat,
Aye.
Counselor Grimaldi,
Aye.
Counselor Peeler,
Aye.
Counselor Lavin,
Aye.
Counselor Brennan,
Aye.
Mayor Valentino,
Aye.
motion carried.
Thank you. Next is appointments to boards and commissions. We have?
Yeah, I've got one individual that we'd like to put on the floor for an appointment, and that would be Paul D'Amico to the Recreation Board.
Okay, do I have a second? Counselor Gilat, discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Whitfield,
Aye.
Counselor Morocco,
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos,
Aye.
Counselor Gilat,
Aye.
Counselor Grimaldi,
Aye.
Counselor Peeler,
Aye.
Counselor Lavin,
Aye.
Counselor Brennan,
Aye.
Mayor Valentino,
Aye.
motion carried.
Next is mayor and council reports. We'll start with Counselor Whitfield and work our way around.
Okay. So, I'd like to mention that, first I'd like to mention that Black history is not a footnote confined to February. It is 365 days, 24 hours, 7 days a week. Black history is American history, a foundation built by generations of inventors, entrepreneurs, soldiers, activists, and trailblazers who shaped this nation despite unimaginable obstacles. We fought for our freedom, bled in every war this country has waged, and built industries that fueled its prosperity. Yet, we continue to be sidelined and reduced to symbolic gestures. A prime example was this year's MLK Day in Geneva. After a powerful march, I was deeply disappointed by the lack of representation at the program afterward. The mayor, when asked to speak, was unavailable, seemingly content that his earlier message was sufficient for an entire day meant to honor Dr. King's legacy. That absence spoke volumes. It showed just how little importance the council seems to place on a day honoring a man who gave his life fighting for justice and equality. And to have it conveniently fall on the same day as the city's inauguration, the president's inauguration, that timing and your absence did not go unnoticed, and it showed a lack of leadership and representation. We cannot forget that the Black Americans built this country and cultivated a culture of strength and resilience. We must demand that history be honored and respected, not conveniently scheduled out of focus. Yet now, with executive orders threatening to dismantle diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, we face the alarming possibility that this could be the last official Black History Month. And here in Geneva, we see further injustice. ICE raids continue to haunt immigration communities, instilling fear and breaking families apart. This is not justice, this is cruelty. Additionally, while the recent noose incident has been attributed to an individual with a mental health disorder, that cannot be the end of the conversation. Symbols of hate carry deep wounds and must be investigated thoroughly. We cannot be complacent. Lastly, I urge every person here to not only here, but to in the community to vote wisely. What we are witnessing is history repeating itself. The echoes of the 1960s are loud and clear. Civil rights and freedoms are under siege. Your vote is your voice, your power, and your stand for justice. Let us be a city and a nation that refuses to erase Black history, silences no voice, and chooses equity, progress, and inclusion. For Recreation Department, the Spring Break Rec Camp is posted online. Looking forward to February break public skate, 17th through the 21st, daily, and we have a great Lunar New Year's celebration at the complex. Thank you.
Councilor Morocco.
Okay, I just got a few things. I'd like to thank Mother Nature for showing up, making her presence be known at the MLK March. Considering the cold weather and stuff, it was a pretty good turnout for the march. Also, at our town hall, I'd like to thank Chief Evelyn for coming and speaking at our town hall and informing us on better ways we can help to report nefarious activities and things like that. The Dunkin' Donuts had a delay with some ground issues, but they rectified. Oh, I'm sorry, and they rectified that, and they're continuing their project. And Mr. Rouse and the traffic issue, Mr. Venuti already spoke about. They're dealing with that on the East North Street and Herbert Street area, and they're still working on evaluating that situation. And that's all I got.
Councilor Petropoulos.
Okay, I'll try to be quick here. The LDC meeting today, there are a couple of upcoming neighborhood events. The first one will be this Saturday, February 8th, a cookie swap at the Presbyterian Church. That's the one at the foot of William Street and the little cul-de-sac there, I guess. That'll be at, I believe it starts at 1 o'clock, so I'll double check that here quick. Yep, 1 o'clock. And then on on Wednesday, February 12th, and I believe it was mentioned at the Bizzuto Center, we're going to have another neighborhood initiatives gathering, if that's the right term for it. I believe it is. And that'll start with cookies and refreshments at 6:30, and the meeting will be at 7. Again, that's at the Bizzuto Center on Castle Street. I don't know how many here went to Drumstock over the summer last year. It was an event put on largely by Lake Drum Brewery with a few others in the area that they got together. Well, they made a presentation today. They may come here before council to make a further presentation, but they wish to expand that event, and to that effect, they formed a nonprofit, the Geneva Rising Arts Foundation, or GRAF, and they're looking to team up with local businesses and expand the event. Now, given the lousy weather last year, it was a great event. I actually stayed about 3 or 4 hours. It was fun. So that's just one of those things. Other than that, I think Catherine Price already talked about the film festival coming up this weekend. So that was pretty much what we went over at the LDC meeting. We had a town hall meeting on January 25th with Councilors Morocco, myself, and Gilat, and we had guests. Councilor Whitfield showed up. Councilor Peeler showed up. Councilor Brennan, were you there? I don't remember. No, you were. Councilor Grimaldi, you showed up. That's right. So, and of course, our city clerk, Nicole, showed up. Thank you. We got a lot talked about. The recurring themes seem to be the flooding situation. I'll get to that in a minute. But that was a really good one. We're going to have these quarterly. The next one will be end of March, beginning of April. We'll put the word out. And what we'd like to do for in the future is invite a department head down to speak. This last time we had Chief Evelyn from the Geneva Police speaking about the possibility of resurrecting a neighborhood watch. And that will be entirely neighbor-driven. So you'll be hearing more about that in the coming weeks or months, perhaps. They're figuring out what the best way to do it. The chief will put out the word, and we'll pass it for him. Then again, let's see what else we got. Okay, so there are a couple of events coming up that I got dragged into helping with. On June 8th, at Pulteney Park at 10 a.m., that will be the 200th anniversary of the Marquis de Lafayette of American Revolutionary War fame, speaking on his revisit to the United States in 1824 and 1825. He passed through Geneva, spoke at Pulteney Park, and went on back home. But it's going to be at 10 a.m. The Daughters of the American Revolution are basically behind this event. The Freemasons will be involved as well. The DAR is going to have cookies and lemonade, so it's a kid-friendly event. They're going to have the Marquis come down on a horse and buggy and give his speech. That ought to be cool. Reminder, next year is the 250th birthday of America, and since July 4th actually falls on the Saturday, the fire parade is going to be. I'm going to start seeing what we can do to enhance that. The Freemasons want to get involved again. DAR wants to get involved, and this could be an enhanced event, kind of like the Eclipse, where we just make it an area attraction. Okay, moving right along, I met with a member of the Storm Task Force last week, and we discussed basically, we know what the long-term plans are. What are the short-term plans? I thought outside the box. I will probably try to set up a meeting with you, with Director Venuti, what can and can't be done, but a couple of things that came to mind are mucking out the tunnel between Elm Street and the lake. That's probably full of silt. Can it be done? I hear stories on both sides. Sandbags, how expensive are sandbags? That you could pile those up where the creek starts going underground, because that's where the flooding seems to take place on Elm and Genesee Street, and why. I have some other ideas, but I'll talk about that with you, Mr. Venuti, at some point soon. Okay. And to that effect, Councilor Gilat and I had the idea of approaching the county. We'll call it rehabilitative labor. This is where the county probation department can provide people to help clean out the creek, for example, or pull weeds out or wherever, or do whatever. Councilor Gilat's waiting on a final details of this, and when he has it, we'll know about it, and correct me when I'm wrong. But
We're gonna know about it in like 2 seconds.
Okay, well, you're going to know about it in 2 seconds. But that's another possibility for short-term assistance. Reminder, the school district vote for the capital project, I mentioned it last month, is basically Thursday, tomorrow. It's going to be at the small gym at the North Street School. So if you have any concerns, this capital project, I mentioned it last meeting, it's of no burden to the taxpayer, which is the good news. But, you know, they gave a presentation at last month's LDC meeting. Long story short, they have some projects in mind, I know, for West Street, to expand, basically to try to alleviate the vehicular cluster, that occurs there. And other things. They're going to do cosmetic improvements and safety improvements and boilers and what have you. So if you want to vote on it, that's when to do it, tomorrow. And finally, I was honored with several other counselors to attend the very cold but very well attended Martin Luther King Jr. event. It's the second time I've done that. And I was invited by former counselor at large, Mark Gramling, to attend a little gathering outside of City Hall this past Saturday to basically stand in solidarity with our newest arrivals. And the reality is simple. Just hold out your hand. Welcome to town, brother or sister. It's that simple. That was very cold too, but very heartwarming in the end. And with that, I think I got everything. If you know where to find me if you got any comments. So thanks.
Councilor Gillette.
It's always cold.
Okay, Geneva bid. Bid was gifted by New York Power Authority, a strategic inclusion action plan for best practices in inclusive recreation. They didn't get it, if we had to pay for it, these plans would cost anywhere from $20,000 to more than $50,000. CAT is working with the city team to make the most of this assessment and potential grant funding for Geneva. She'll be presenting information on this program to us at next council meeting and to the residents. Things are on track for the spring New York State Tourism Industry Alliance Conference in Canandaigua. That's April 22nd through 25th. CAT will be bringing a group of the tourism professionals to Geneva for familiarization or FAM tour. And Councilman Metropolis stole my thunder, but that's okay. I reached out, we were working on this together actually, but we reached out to Sheriff Srezione first. He guided me to Ontario Probation, and I talked to Samuel Gutzmer. I probably butchered that name, but anyway. And what they have is they have a crew made of people from workforce development and probationers. They're owed community service as part of their orders of probation. Community service is done every Wednesday, weather dependent, and he leaves from probation at 9:30 a.m. and they return at 2 p.m. Cruise varies in size depending on what's going on legally, with these gentlemen and ladies. The program can accommodate things such as trash cleanup, watering, weeding. Gotta just make sure cleaning, unskilled maintenance, etc. All they ask is for tools if they're needed, rakes or whatever is needed for the job to be provided or required. They personally supervise the crew and make sure things stay on track. I sent this off to the city manager, Kat, and to Joe. I think Steve was on it as well. Great program, and my conversation with him was schedule it in advance, and then he'll let you know if there's any conflicts, and they're more than happy to help us out. Again, the crew it depends on the size of the crew as well, how much they can do. I thought it was a win for everybody, especially for some of the needs we need with lakefront, cleaning and watering plants downtown, et cetera. So hopefully it works out well. Good luck.
We'll take them every Wednesday.
Yeah. Better than nothing. The last comment, I don't normally do this, but I'm a little upset, I think, so. I'm disappointed in some of the council people on this Diaz. For a couple of reasons. I'm not gonna go into detail, and I don't really anticipate or welcome any comments. But I just think it's in my mind and what I voted on, I don't know of any hidden agenda which was referenced. And I don't appreciate that at all. And I don't appreciate, I attended Martin Luther King March, very cold. I have drop foot, it's even harder for me. I could not stay for the ceremony. I have a small business that I had catering set up, and I had nobody else to do it but me, so I couldn't stay. horrible excuse maybe, but, you know, my heart was there, my thoughts are there. And I just very disappointed that people are called out at a council meeting. And the other thing I want to just share to residents, our email access to us is very valuable. We answer them right away. All of us answer them right away. It's important information. It's a good way to get in touch with us. It is not a Facebook page. I just appreciate it if you keep your Facebook comments on Facebook. It's for us. You're concerned with anything going on in Geneva, so we can address it, and that's the way it should be used. So I said my piece, and thank you.
Wait, hold up.
Councilor Grimaldi.
Let me say something. First of all,
You had your turn, and we'll come back to you if
Okay,
you want to say
all right.
something afterwards. Councilor Grimaldi.
Okay. I attended the Geneva Housing Authority meeting this month, so they went through multiple reports, and one of those that stuck with me a little bit was that right now their apartments are 94% occupied. So they're doing a pretty good job filling them up. And of the vouchers they have, they get vouchers from the state and federal government. Right now their utilization is 83%. So they're doing a pretty good job over there. They did approve the selling of 5 scattered sites, so even though the city gets a little bit of money from the housing authority for those, that will put those back on the tax roll, which will be a lot more than what the housing authority gives us. The other thing they asked me to do is they asked me to mention that the firehouse needs $25,000 worth of repairs, and the contract says the city's supposed to do those. That's Nestor's and the hydrant. It was one of the things they mentioned. So hopefully that's good, and go out and vote at the school board thing. You know, I would hope that most of the people would support what council had supported in the past, and that was not to give them a curb cut. And it's been years and years, and every time that's been the way it's been, but we didn't really ever get in, nobody ever asked us this time, so. I'll pass off the bill.
Councilor Peeler.
Thank you. The planning board did not meet last month, so I do not have a liaison report for the planning board. For boards and appointments, we are trying to set up interviews right now for some of the people that have applied for the recreation board. So if you applied to the recreation board, stay on the lookout for an email or a phone call for your availability to do those interviews. I'd like to see them done by the end of next week, so that we can get those interviews done. To touch base on the capital project vote, I just want to piggyback off of Jim's notification of the vote. The vote's going to be at North Street in the mini gym tomorrow night. Voting starts at 8 o'clock and it ends, voting starts at 11 a.m. and it ends at 8 o'clock. So it's really imperative that if you're carving out some time to make this vote, to know when it kind of wraps up. So voting does end at 8, so try to get there before 8 to the mini gym. And then also, I would like to, I've received a lot of complaints about this, and a lot of information that I've learned about this project. I went to West Street School growing up, and I walked there. I also went to St. Stephen's, and I walked there, and I lived really close to the Cubs, the Red Wing Stadium that's over by the ballpark. McDonough Park is where I lived. That was my area. I do want to say that what I've learned, and I don't believe all the people that have told me the same thing. Everyone's told me the same thing. When they built West Street School, the good faith contract they had with the community, because there was a ton of community concern about the traffic implications of West Street School. The good faith agreement that they had with the community when they built West Street School was that it would not service the entire community. It was an area that wouldn't be able to service the entire community. That would be a round peg in a square hole if they brought every single kid from the city into that little bottleneck. And I think, and this is my opinion, that instead of 15 years ago or wherever it was when the school board decided to bring every single student in this community that are in those grades to West Street, I think they had a wonderful opportunity to form a 10-year plan about how to relinquish the property. and get everybody into North Street where there's plenty of room to develop and there's plenty of traffic options over there, and it's got roads and traffic systems that are more congruent with getting people in and out of the school. And yet that's not what's happening. What's happening is they're still trying to Band-Aid the solution, really at the expense of a community and an area that, for a lot of the older members that live there, remember that the agreement was to build this school so that it literally wouldn't have this kind of impact on traffic in the community. So I think maybe I'll go to some school board meetings too and just remind them that, this is an opportunity. And North Street, even when I was a child, North Street had 2/3 of the city's kids in it. It was always meant to handle the volume. It was just a larger cross-section of the community that went to North Street. You only went to West Street if you lived on the other side, if you lived south of Castle Street, which is not the majority of the students that are in, the kids that go to Geneva. So, and St. Stephen's was bigger too, so more kids went to St. Stephen's back then too. That's about it. That's it. Just get there before 8 o'clock. It's at North Street, and then you can kind of give your vote. I also want to say that I don't like the doublespeak of when public officials tell you that it's not coming out of your taxes to pay for this. Okay, that's doublespeak. What's really true is it's coming out of a different tax source that you are being taxed on. It's just not coming out of your school taxes. But money doesn't grow on trees, and people don't lay bricks for free. So it is money, but it's just not coming from, it's coming from New York State, it's coming from the federal. So if you're being taxed from other sources, and that's where it's coming from. So it's really, and that's how, government spending gets out of control, is that we tell people these things. Oh, it's free. Mother Nature knows there's no such thing as free. The law of thermodynamics requires a cost. Okay, so there is a cost to this.
Councilor Lavin.
Thank you, Your Honor. Through the manager to our counselor, in the last couple of months, we've changed the size of the planning board and the zoning board, I think for good reasons, for a city that's come down in size over the years, to try and streamline our operations and make things more efficient. I think the same thing applies to, the same potential applies to the council, and I'd like to ask the counselor to, if you could give us give me or others a description of what process we would have to go through to consider taking the council from 9 to 5 with a mayor and 4 councilors. I'm not sure of the process myself, and whether or not there's options for a council vote or a referendum that might be necessary. But I think if we could discuss it now as a council that would be consistent with what we've been doing with the rest of the government here.
I'd be happy to look into that. My sense is that a referendum is, I guess it kind of depends on whose seats you're considering, I guess.
Right.
So that might well involve a referendum, but I'm happy to take a look at that, and then I can follow up directly with you and Amy, and if that warrants further discussion by City Council, we can have that discussion.
I appreciate that. The other thing I sort of stepping over the line from my other life, I did want to remind anybody from the community that's here or are watching on TV that in this time of federal overreach, the Boys and Girls Club goes out of its way to to deliver groceries at a drive-through on Thursday morning. For some years now, we've served more than 1,700 families the groceries they need in 2 visits to the club. That's open to anybody. There's no economic requirement. So I know there are some people who are nervous these days about going into public spaces where they may face some of the things that we're struggling with. It's just another option if you need food. Thursday morning this week at about 9 o'clock, there's a long line. It can be intimidating to see the length of the line and revelatory about the condition of some of the families in our community, but it's open to anyone, and there's no questions asked. And it's fresh food, it's good food, it's not leftovers. And I encourage people to take advantage of that if they're feeling at all harassed by some of the things we're seeing these days. Beyond that, I appreciate and I want to come completely clean to my good friend Ahmad, the other end of this, that I had fallen 2 days before and cracked 2 ribs, broke 2 ribs before the march. I still got up because I've done it every year since I moved back from San Diego, and I did the march, but frankly had to go back to my Vicodin and did not stay for the ceremony, which is a great loss because it's one of the great days of Geneva, where you see the richness of our community and the spirit. And we all have schedules, but this is part of my reason for looking at the number of counselors we have. It's hard to get this group together for anything. We all have busy lives, we have businesses to run, and I think that we can, if we take a good look at the way government operates here, we have some potential. And I, just for the record, so nobody thinks about it, if we did decide to reduce the number of council people, I would be the first one to volunteer to not be among those being considered going forward, to get a system that is a little bit more efficient than the one we're under at this point. So thank you, and thanks for all the efforts of everybody here.
We're not going to let you get out that easy, Council Lavin.
Sorry?
We're not going to let you get out that easy. Council Brennan.
Well, very quickly, the Shade Tree Committee did meet, as it always does. Pardon me. And I'm happy to report that they're still busy. They have lots of ideas for 2025. They confer with Joe Venuti all the time about it, so he's surprised of all their activities. Tom Burrow contributed another $475 to the city. So I just pointing out that not only does this committee not get paid for their services, they give the city money. They're up to $14,267. Tom Burrow and several other members of that committee, they get together and they cut firewood, and which is always for sale. Tom will always point out to you, it's still for sale. Whoever needs firewood, buy it from Tom, and they'll come right back to the city. The zoning board did not meet, as it should have last week, but it did not meet. And Neil Brayman and I are working on trying to make some of those corrections because it's an area that we think has to be remedied right away, considering all of the activities that we're planning for this coming calendar year. That's it.
Councilor Whitfield would like to speak again, and then Councilor Gilat forgot one of his liaison appointments.
What I wanted to say was, because Councilor made a point to say that he was disappointed that it was mentioned, but it's disappointing when only one person came to me and said that I had to hold the fort down for city council, and that was the manager. And I thank her for even coming and addressing that I would be there by myself. And when you're being called to speak, it's one thing. We're all leaders. We're all supposed to be leaders. So when you leave someone there to represent the whole city council, when someone is there to represent the city council and then there's no one to speak for the city council, that is disheartening. That is discouraging. And I raise it as a public announcement because it was publicly presented at the MLK meeting. I was the one that was being questioned about those things. So that's why it was publicly mentioned.
All set? Councilor Gilat?
Yeah, the Police Budget Review Board also met, and just a couple things. They continue discussing how to board mental health personnel to support the Geneva Police Department and residents with mental health calls and issues. And also they had further discussion on Geneva Police Department's present and future staffing issues, their challenges, and how they plan to meet them in the future. That's all I have.
Okay. I attended the Rail Corridor Steering Committee Phase 2. We're getting close to the end of all the meetings. We've been meeting for almost 2 years now. And the Phase 2 is this side of the county. And the goal is to take a look at economic development opportunities by looking at all the rail corridors and any changes that might be made. There is going to be one more public session, and it's going to be real soon, close to the end of this month, beginning of March, and it's going to be at our Welcome Center. It will be announced. Right now, they're trying to establish the date to have that. It'll be at 6 p.m. at night, but I don't have the specific date at this time. We're also going to have a final meeting, and there's going to be a report out with recommendations. This steering committee is developing recommendations for economic development opportunities for the rail corridor on this side of the county. There's not going to be any motions or actions that are going to take place. These recommendations are going to be forwarded, and hopefully actions or motions will take place after that. One of the challenges they're running into is the time frame is pretty extensive for moving the rail yard on our lakefront. That's a big thing that a lot of us wanted to do. We would like to open up Ward 6. We'd like to open up that Middle Street corridor. We'd like to create more access from Middle Street over into the lakefront. The challenge is that there's a Norfolk Southern line there that cannot be moved, but the Norfolk Southern won't even come to the table and have conversations right now. There's a north route that goes to Lyons that goes across 318 that's actually been shut down by Norfolk Southern. And until that gets opened up, that rail yard cannot be moved. Time frame is going to be like 10 years before that can take place, and that's unfortunate. I think the challenge is, and this committee has decided that if we can't make something happen in a reasonable time frame, we want to start coming out with a strong recommendation that Finger Lakes Railway, Norfolk Southern, does something to dramatically improve that area down on our lakefront and possibly create better access and better visuals in that area. So you're going to see a strong recommendation come from this group about that specific area. Counselor, I see you want to say something.
I just wanted to ask you a question, because I've been struggling to find an answer, and maybe your committee is doing it, that these rails get an enormous tax exemption. People scream and yell in this town if somebody wants a pilot for building a new project. These guys pay nothing. I think they pay $6,700 a year or something like that. And nobody, as far as I know, nobody makes them demonstrate their economic development value. It's just assumed. And I'm told that most of the trains you see coming up the west side of Seneca Lake are cars being relocated from the southern line to the northern line. They're not doing much local economic development. They claim some jobs in Auburn, but I don't know that there's anyone giving it the kind of scrutiny that Mr. West would have to go through for an apartment house on Jackson Street. You know, and I wonder if bringing that question up for them. I know the state has rules, but
yeah, this committee is not addressing pilots specifically, but they are focusing on economic development opportunities for industry. And I'm amazed at just the farming, the agricultural opportunities using rail. So that's what their focus is trying to promote more there.
I don't think they're doing it though, which is, I mean, the economic impact of these railroads is marginal.
Yeah, this committee is not an actionable committee, just a recommendation committee, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay, Human Rights Commission, I can thank our city clerk for pulling us together. We met with Chairperson Victor Nelson, and we had a great discussion. We talked about some of the tenants, and it was interesting to find out that our tenants are different than the counties and different than the states. So the Human Rights Commission is going to be taking a look at those tenants and maybe revising those tenants and bringing it back to us. They do have one vacancy, and they're doing an interview right now to try to fill that vacancy. So it was nice to meet. And I got to give the city clerk kudos because she's on it. When she talks about policies and procedures, she really knows what she's talking about, and she's keeping us in line. And the MLK event was great. I want to thank Dr. Lucille Mallard for inviting me. Just a little bit of clarification. I did not know I was on the agenda at the church to speak. I did have a medical appointment. I let Dr. Mallard know that I wasn't able to attend, and I just want to big shout out to the Geneva Cardiology Group for addressing my issue as quickly as possible. So I'd like to thank that and just clarify some of those comments.
Of course.
Need a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Councilor Peeler, seconded by Councilor Morocco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay. Oh, if you need your walk shoveled, you can